Hello again. Today you are going to get to help me pick a budget digital rangefinder camera. Sort of. And because artificial intelligence, or AI, is the new all-consuming buzzword for everything in photography, this picking process will be AI enhanced. Sort of. But first, let's define some rules. Now, I enjoy shooting with a film camera occasionally as much as the next person, but most of my photography has to be digital, both for reasons of quality and cost. Cost is important because last year, I just checked, I shot about 39,000 frames, and if I had shot those frames on film and sent them out to a lab for good quality processing and scans, I would have spent more than $36,000 during that year, and that's just off the table for me. Now, about rangefinder cameras. Contrary to what you'll hear on a lot of what you might call the less informed photography channels on YouTube, a rangefinder camera is not any camera that doesn't have a hump on the top. To qualify as a true rangefinder camera, a camera needs to have an optical viewfinder to help you compose what will be in your photo, and an optical rangefinder to help you determine what will be in focus. Okay, the third term we want to define is budget, because I did say we're going to choose a budget digital rangefinder camera. And unfortunately, when I said budget, I didn't mean low budget. It's true that back in the film era, there were a lot of rangefinder cameras that were relatively inexpensive to buy, but all of those had non-interchangeable lenses. Making a rangefinder camera on which the lenses can be interchanged requires a very high degree of precision, and that unavoidably winds up being kind of expensive. So when I say budget, I don't mean rock bottom budget, I just mean any budget. I mean, you have to make some kinds of choices about how you're going to spend your money. I admit that in the United States there are a few people who don't have to worry about budgets, who basically can afford to buy anything they want to buy that can be bought. Supreme Court Justice, Maserati, you name it. And for those people, in all honesty, in the unlikely event that any of you are watching this channel, I suggest that if you want a digital rangefinder camera, you just go out and buy a Leica M11. I've never used one, I probably never will, but I've seen pictures from them, they're very nice. So I wanted to look at a couple of different options that would have interchangeable lenses, that would be at least 24 megapixels, and that were something that I could rationalize spending fairly large but not ridiculous amount of money on. And I came up with a methodology. I got a couple of candidates and I made some test pictures with them, and what we're going to do is compare those, and you can decide along with me how you think they compare, and then we'll decide what we should do. Sound good? Here we go. Let's start out with a classic texture and detail test subject, this 1894 vintage brick wall. Camera A's images are on the left, camera B on the right. And looking at them at about 100% size, I don't see a huge amount of difference. They both look pretty comparable. Let's try zooming into 200%. To me, these both look really comparable in terms of overall results between camera A and camera B. We can go all the way into 300%, and again, while you can see some differences and while you might have a preference of one over the other, I don't think there's a clear-cut winner or loser. Now let's take a look at some photos I made in a historic block near where I work. Again, camera A is on the left, camera B is on the right. Particularly the owners of the Natural Market and the gun shop have done a really nice job on their buildings, and all of the details and textures in these buildings should give us a good basis for comparison. Let's go ahead and zoom in into 200% because these really all look pretty much alike at 100%. All of this decor in the upper part of the building looks very crisp in both. You can see about the same amount of detail. So again, while the renderings are a little different and you might have a preference of one over the other, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say A is better than B or B is better than A. But now let's get down to the chicanery. And before I scroll down and show you the Achilles heel of this comparison, I want to explain what I was trying to do. First, camera A is my Pixie A2572, which has been featured in several other review segments. Camera B is the Epson RD1 camera that I've owned since it was brand new and first came out in 2004. Now, the Pixie is a 26 megapixel Super 35 sensor size camera that has a very highly rated sensor and is capable of very high performance. The Epson, much as I love the thing, is only a 6 megapixel camera, so on the face of it, it doesn't seem obvious how we're going to be able to compare the images. But that's what I was interested in finding out. Now there's a new generation of AI enhanced upsampling tools, along with Adobe's new denoise feature, which uses machine learning training to reduce noise from your images. And I wanted to see if by combining both of those features I could get results from the RD1 that would be at least sort of comparable with the images that I'm getting from the Pixie. And as you've seen so far, really the results I got from the AI enhanced, let's call it, version compare pretty well to the legit version. But now we're going to see where the problem comes up. And that is in this sign on the front of the Green Acres Natural Market. You can kind of see the issue at 200%, but to make it glaringly clear, I'm going to go up to 300%. Here we are at 300%. Camera A over on the left, again, that's the legit 26 megapixel image. You can easily read this type on the sign. It says putting health in your hands, and you can even read down here where it says established 1987. Over here on the machine learning upsampled side, you can't really tell what this says at all, and you definitely can't tell what this says. The reason for that is that Topaz Gigapixel AI or any upsampling routine doesn't know what this original subject looks like. To fill in extra pixels to upsample it, it just has to make a guess based on the surrounding pixels. You can get away with that in a lot of cases with natural patterns, but on something very recognizable such as lettering, it's just not going to work. You can't compute more information into an image than was originally present. Denoising is kind of a different problem because noise is an artifact of the digitization process. If you do a good job of modeling that process and then train a machine learning system on it, you can do a very plausible job of reversing out those noise artifacts. So when I started this experiment, I really didn't know where I was going to wind up. But now that I've tried it, I'm glad I did. There's a certain tendency in the photography community to look at any application of AI or machine learning as potentially a bad thing. But the upside is that if you've got an older camera that you still enjoy using, but that is kind of fallen behind in the megapixel race, these new technologies can help bridge the gap, and they can do it well enough that for many types of subjects, most people won't be able to tell the difference.